Hello, and welcome to another session of Woodville Alliance's online parenting support series. I'm Sarah, and today I'll be talking to you about self-care. For many of us, this year has felt like an intense sports match where we've been running and playing our hardest, but we've been losing the game. We're exhausted and we need a bit of a break. So right now, it feels like we're coming up to a bit of a halftime break. We can take a bit of a breather, we can have a drink of water, a slice of orange, and have a fresh start for when the buzzer rings and we're back in the game. So with restrictions easing more and more, we're getting a little bit of a glimpse of our normal life again for some of us. And I want to talk to you today about how us as parents can take better care of ourselves right now and our own well-being during this halftime break of the year. Over the past few months, we've had less and less control of our lives. Our movements have been restricted, our daily lives have been really interrupted, and we've had to adapt really quickly to all of these changes around us. We've had to worry a bit more about things in our daily lives. We may become more concerned with our health, our children's health, our finances with many jobs being affected. Even our children's education has become more complicated. And the whole situation across the world at the moment can feel really overwhelming. So I want to show you a little concept about control in our lives. We're going to look at this larger circle here and think about all of the things that might be worrying you or concerning you at the moment that you do not have control over. So this might be like, when is the coronavirus pandemic going to end? We don't have any control over that. Or when a vaccine might come out, we really don't have any control of that. Maybe it's, what's the weather going to be like in the school holidays? Will I be able to take my children to the park in the school holidays? We don't have control over the weather, so we can't do that. So that goes in this part of the circle. Now, this smaller circle in the middle represents things you actually do have control over at the moment. So this might be like what foods you eat, or what time you go to bed, or how often you exercise, what programs you and your children watch on TV. It's a bit of a smaller circle there of the things you actually have control over. It might include whether or not you follow the government's guidelines and advice about social distancing. That you have control over. You can also control your own actions. You can control how you react to situations. You can also influence people in your life, but you can't control them and what they do or what they think or feel. So this is something you can do at home. You can sit down and draw the circles yourself and just think about, what do you not have control over at the moment and what things can you control in your life right now. So it might be about walking in the supermarket. This is something I've experienced, going to the supermarket and standing in line to buy your groceries and having somebody standing really close behind you. And that can be quite frustrating for people. But we can't really control what that person behind us in line is actually doing. We can't control if they're social distancing. We can have a small influence by showing people we don't agree with their actions, but we can't control them. So spending a large amount of energy feeling angry, for example, about other people's actions is not really an effective use of your energy or attention. So it's a useful thing to remember when feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes we're faced with such big issues that are impacting our lives in so many ways that we can feel hopeless or helpless. Often taking a moment to focus our attention and our energy on the things that we actively have control over and we can influence can take some of the worry away from the bigger issues in life. It's important to remember attention, energy, and focus are limited resources. We don't have infinite energy or resources in our lives. So we want to think about what we can spend time building into in our lives, which is why I want to talk to you about this concept of self-care. I'm sure you've heard of this concept before, but essentially it's about caring for yourself. As parents, our energy and our focus are always being taken away from us in some form or another. It's important to actively find ways to care for yourself in order to better care for your family. So if you've ever flown on an airplane in the past, you would have heard the safety announcement that says, in case of an emergency, please put on your own oxygen mask first before assisting others. And at first, this might seem a little bit selfish, but if you're really without oxygen in an emergency, you can't help somebody else next to you. Maybe it's your child next to you. You can't help them put on their oxygen mask if you yourself are without oxygen. So I see this the same as parenting. If we're depleted of energy and we're tired and exhausted, we're not caring for ourselves well, then it becomes really difficult for us to care for our families and those who need our care. So it's not a selfish thing to do self-care. I think it's actually very essential. So I want to talk to you today about 3 areas of self-care that are all very important. And it's a great idea to sit down after this video and think about these 3 areas of your life and where you can introduce some more ways of caring for yourself. So the first area of self-care is physical self-care. So this is the more obvious one. Parenting can become a very physically draining experience, especially when you've got young children. So I want you to consider physical things like what time you go to bed, your nutrition and exercise. Think of some ways you can care for yourself physically. It might be going for a walk around the block when things get a bit difficult at home or stressful. It might be taking a bath once the kids go to bed, or going to get your nails done, or sitting in the evening and doing your nails yourself. Or it might be putting on a face mask or something that's physically relaxing or physically brings you energy. So start thinking about those ways and things you can introduce into your daily life. It might not be a long physical actual exercise. It could just be a 2-minute walk around the block. That's something you can do that's going to care for yourself. The second area, which is equally as important, is emotional or psychological self-care. So this is caring for your mind and your feelings. So during the pandemic, it's been difficult to find joy in everyday life because there's been a lot of disruption around us. But I want you to stop and think and consider things that might bring you joy in your life. So recently I've taken up painting with my daughter, and I really didn't realize how calming it could be. Often before the pandemic, I would set up painting or an activity outside for her, and I would quickly go and hang the washing out or do the dishes while she's entertained. But I think this time has actually shown me how important it is as a parent to stay present with my child. And being able to set up my own painting activity while she is happily painting away has actually been a really calming experience. We don't always have to wait until we have someone to look after our kids to practice self-care, or maybe when they've gone to bed. We can actually find self-care activities that we can do with our children. As long as it's bringing you energy and joy, then it's a great self-care activity. It might be gardening, or it might be even taking up yoga or stretching. Be open to tell your kids that mum or dad needs to go outside and sit in the sunshine for 2 minutes. It's really great for your kids to see you practicing self-care for yourself, to show them that you're valuable, that you matter, and that you're only human, and that caring for your own feelings is something everybody can do for themselves. So maybe you find joy in gardening, or maybe you find joy in practicing mindfulness or deep breathing. Whatever you can do to clear your mind of clutter and be more present in the moment, that's a really great emotional self-care area for you. So the third area of self-care I want to talk to you about is social self-care. This can be really difficult as well when you've got kids around. You can't always duck off to catch up with your friends. So this area of our life has also become quite complicated with the COVID pandemic. So, where you might have gone out to see your family or friends and socialize, it's become a little bit more restricted and difficult to do that. But if you're like me, perhaps the distance from others has given you a little more clarity and time to think about those friendships you actually do cherish and you have missed. So social self-care might mean reaching out and connecting to those who give you energy. Often we have friendships and relationships in our lives that can zap energy from us. I'm sure you can think of a few people that you've spent time with, and afterwards you actually feel more depleted of energy. So I want you to think about people who bring you energy, who make you feel good about yourself, who fill you with hope, who fill you with just really feeling supported and cared for. Those are the people that bring a really good source of self-care for you. So start thinking about your relationships in life and about those people you can go to when you need to care for yourself, and people who give you energy and joy. So that brings us to the end of our online session today. If you find that you might need a bit more support right now, maybe self-care might be the bottom of your list at the moment with all the things going on, there is a phone number at the end of this video that you can call and get some support from Woodville Alliance. So I hope you get some time to think about all the ways you can care for yourself today and your family, and I wish you all the very best. Bye.